When you've been out shooting with your camera, there's a moment when you come home when all your files and your raw footage live in one place, which is going to be your SD card. And moving the files then to your Mac, to your external hard drives and so on, if you don't use proper software for it, is often quite tedious, manual, whatever. So let me show you a better way. I'm going to stick in my SD card here. I already have Tusk open on my machine. Tusk is automatically going to recognize the SD card and it's going to ask me, hey, do you want to offload the data? So if I click on that, it will automatically select the source. In my case, though, I don't want to offload the whole card. I'm actually just interested in the stuff that I shot today, which is here in this clip folder. So I can just say, use that folder, and then continue. What I can do then is I can say, hey, let me actually select the backup location. So where do I want to bring all my footage? And I can't find my hard drive. Here we go. So I'm going to put it on this SSD card, and I have another one plugged in. I'm not going to unplug it now, but I want to have it basically on 2 different locations. So right now you see there's only the SSD fast. We can already select that. But I'm also going to plug in a second drive that I want to move this footage to. So first of all, on my SSD fast, I'm going to create a new folder that I'm going to call, in this case, Offload 1. And then the same thing here, by the way, the hard drive is also recognized as a new data source, so I get the same pop-up. But I'm going to say, let me have another backup, which is now going to be SSD NIC. And on that as well, I'm going to say Offload 1. Create that folder, use this folder here. And then you see here, okay, I have 2 destinations, SSD fast and SSD NIC. And when I click continue, I'll also see exactly the overview of like, okay, this is coming from this SD card and is going to move into these backups. When I now say start offload, I see that it's overall 26.51 gigabytes that are being moved to those 2 drives in parallel, right? And I don't have to do anything. I can actually also, if I unplug my drives now, Tusk will recognize it, will continue the transfer once the drives are back in. Let me actually show you. So I'm going to unplug one of the drives. It's now showing me, and so it can't move there anymore, but it will continue as soon as I plug that drive back in again. There we go. Took a little moment, but now it's going to continue moving the files onto those drives. Obviously, this is going to take a moment because it's 26 gigabytes, but we'll look at it once it's done. Okay, now this is almost done. I just want to show you here, you also see all the recently moved files, right? So in my case here, I can also go already in the Finder and look at those folders and see slowly the data trickling in, right? So here, Offload 1, you see 5 files have already been moved, and the 6th one is in the current process of being moved. That's this one that we see here, the backup happening right this moment. The same thing, obviously, also for the other SSD, right? And here you see it's already been moved 4.11 gigabytes there as well. And now all of it has been moved. And what this gives us now in Tusk is you can also export a PDF, because Tusk doesn't just move the files, it does also verify them in place. That just means it checks that the file on the external hard drive now matches exactly the file on the original SD card, so nothing went wrong during the transfer. So if I now look at the report, it just, didn't want it that big. It's just a PDF file that shows you exactly how it checked. So these checksums are calculated from the underlying file, and they just show you these match exactly the original source, and it gives you that for every individual file for you to immediately know, hey, all of these files have been copied properly. So this was a one-time offload, right? That means I brought my SD card home from the shoot. I just want to have it quickly on the drives, get rid of the files on the SD card, and then know that everything is safe, okay? That's one. But Tusk gives you another option, which is not just a single offload, but you can also actually create a project. So let's assume I'm shooting a documentary and I go, I don't know, let's say it's a bakery, and I go there 5 days a week. Every day I shoot something different, and every day I come home with an SD card that I want to add to this project. So what I can do is I can actually create a project and say here that, hey, I want to offload from an SD card. So we're going to do the same thing again, where I go and say, this is my bakery documentary. In this case here, I don't have a local folder yet, right? Because I'm just getting started. So in my documents, I'm just going to say I'm creating a folder. It automatically understands that it's a bakery documentary. And I'm going to say use this folder. And I'm going to offload this from my SD card again. So in this case here, I'm going to go once again with the clip folder here. And then I can also say inside of my bakery documentary, what is the destination subfolder? So I can say, for example, this is day 1, right? Or maybe better, 1 day, so that it's correctly ordered. And then it will ask me, hey, do you want to save this to your local folder? And what this just means is, do you want to save the files that are on the SD card also locally in that project folder here? If you only want to back it up to SSDs and you don't want to work on it right now and you don't need it locally, you don't have to check that. So I'm going to say yes for now and say continue. And then it asks me again, which should be the backups. In this case, because we've seen it before, I'm just going to select one. And I'm going to say for the SSD fast, I'm going to have it on the bakery documentary folder and then continue. By the way, obviously it also works with the cloud storages that you see here, but it just takes a lot longer to upload something than move something to an SSD. Now, I created this project, and you see now one thing here, which is we have a project dashboard. Because what's going to happen here is it's going to continuously track the files in that folder. Even if I didn't say I want to save it to locally, anything that I put onto my Mac in this folder, let me show you here the folder that we created. Here's bakery documentary, right? If I put anything in here, Tusk will notice, hey, something new has happened there, and will automatically back it up in the same way that we selected here, which is just to one external hard drive. What does that mean? Well, it means that if I now add more files to it, and for example, let's say I create a video in Adobe Premiere Pro and I have the project file of my Adobe Premiere project in this folder, that project will also automatically be backed up, right? That project file will always be on the hard drives. If I add audio, if I go and select the music and download it into that folder, it will always be automatically backed up. I don't have to change anything. Files get modified, files get added, files get renamed. All of that I can do in the Finder or also through other apps, and it will automatically be picked up by Tusk. So I'm just going to wait until the files have been moved, and then we'll take a look at how we would deal with offloading more files into this project. Okay, perfect. So this has worked as well now. I have offloaded into a project, which means the files should be now on my Mac and on the hard drive. So if I go into the bakery documentary folder on my Mac, you see here it's there. And then if I open another tab and I go into SSD fast, bakery documentary, 1 day, the files are there. There we go. Now, what would normally happen, right? I already said, well, I'm going to continue shooting. So that means it's day 2 now, and I brought with me another SD card. Now, I don't have a second SD card. I'm shooting with it right now here. But I'm just going to act as if an external hard drive holds some files that I want to offload. So I'm going to say here, I'm going to offload into this project. And in this case, I have prepared something on SSD fast called day 2 documentary. So SSD fast, day 2 documentary should go into the folder today in this project. And I'm also going to show you now, I'm not going to copy to the local working folder. Okay, so if I click continue, after saying I want to use this folder, if I now click continue, it will tell me, okay, it's going to move to SSD fast into the subfolder. And now you already see here, it's not on this Mac, and all those files are going to move to the backup location, which we can also track here. If I go into SSD fast, let me just show you, right? SSD fast, bakery documentary, today is moving those files in there. So I don't have to have all the files locally, because let's say, oh, right now I just want to edit day 1. So I don't need all the files already on my Mac. So I'm just going to work on these ones that I have locally. And then when I edit whatever I have coming in from day 2, I will bring them to the Mac, which I'll show you in a second. Awesome. Okay, so now you see here, my files have been moved. The one from day 2 are not locally on this Mac. What does that mean? if I go into SSD fast, bakery documentary today has those 3 files. On my Mac itself, there's only the day 1 file. I can, however, now bring back those files. I can say, for example, hey, for today, it sounds stupid for day 2, but I named it today. I can restore 3 files, and it will tell me here, hey, restore this folder. 3 files will be restored to your local drive, which is perfect, right, if I ever need them back, but I don't want to have an additional 13 gigabytes right now on my Mac, so I'm not going to download them, but I know that they are safe. I also know that they are safe if I, for example, unplug, where's my finder? Here we go. If I say SSD fast, I'm going to eject this now, okay? So this hard drive is gone. Tusk has noticed it already, but I still see this. Tusk will also keep an index and like a catalog of all the files that it has ever moved, which is just beautiful if you ask me, which also means that if I completely unplug it right here, nothing happens, right? I still know exactly where my files are. Awesome, so now this has worked. I'm going to show you one last thing, which is what I mentioned already before, that another advantage of having the project is not just having a catalog of all the files, but also it's going to continue tracking exactly what is happening in that local folder. So for example, if I now just drag in some file here, Tusk picks it up. So it understands, okay, there's a new file there, let me move it across to the backup location as well. So SSD fast, bakery documentary now also has this. It works the same way for text files and any other kind of files, right? I said earlier, like an Adobe Premiere Pro project would work the same way. If I go into my bakery documentary folder again locally, and I now add a project overview. Okay, so this is just a text file that right now gets picked up. You see it in the background. And then now if I say in the text edit here, it looks like this at the moment, but now I'm going to say day 1 shot some B-roll or something like that. Okay, now if I save that, automatically, you saw it maybe in the background flashing as well, Tusk picks it up and redistributes it across the backup locations. What does that mean? It literally just put the updated file into my SSD drive. So if I go back to SSD fast and I look at the project overview, you see here, I now also have this shot some B-roll. Tusk can do a bunch of more things. If you want to try it out, there's a 2-week free trial. If you have any ideas on how to improve this workflow or anything that's missing for you, let me know. I read and reply to every email that you send me. And I'd love to hear some feedback of you as well on how it works for you if you've tested it out.